Hello and welcome to the DSR Daily for Friday, December 6th. I'm your host for today, Riley Fessler, joined by Minna Stein. Minna Stein, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's nice and
Happy it's
cold.
Friday.
Yeah, it's nice and cold here in DC. Got the weekend to look forward to. Things are good. It's the holiday season. What's not to be happy about? But
Exactly.
I'm sure some of our stories will dampen everyone's spirit.
Yes, there are some things to not be quite so happy about. And I will start us off with one of those stories. Syrian rebels captured the strategic city of Hama, marking a significant victory in their rapid advance across northern Syria. The fall of Hama weakens President Assad's regime and sets the stage for an attack on the city of Homs, which could further threaten his control. The shift in power is fueled by diminishing Russian and Iranian support as Hezbollah suffers heavy losses. The international community has expressed concern over the humanitarian crisis, with the UN calling for urgent aid and renewed political negotiations to end the conflict. So, as this goes on, people suffer in Syria. And so, definitely something for us to keep our eyes on and hope that political negotiations do happen to end this conflict as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Well, turning back to South Korea, the country is in political turmoil after President Yoon Suk Yeol's declaration of martial law on Tuesday night, which we've now learned included ordering the arrest of ruling party leader Han Dong-hoon and opposition leader Lee Jae-myung on anti-state charges. Yoon's move, aimed at consolidating power amid corruption allegations and record low approval ratings, shocked the nation and prompted widespread protests and emergency parliamentary meetings. The ruling party is now split, with some MPs calling for Yoon's suspension as an impeachment vote looms, supported by overwhelming public approval. The crisis has left the nation deeply shaken, with concerns over democracy and fears of further extreme actions from Yoon if he remains in office. Yeah, it seems like this guy probably shouldn't remain in office. Hot take. If somebody tries to coup, maybe don't let them continue to rule, which is a lesson we maybe should have learned in the United States. But hopefully South Korea can learn from our mistakes and make sure this guy is out of power as quickly as possible.
For sure. Shifting our focus over back to the United States, House Republicans on Thursday blocked a Democratic-led effort to release the Ethics Committee's report on former Representative Matt Gaetz, sending the matter back to the committee. The investigation into Gaetz, which has lasted over 3 years, focuses on allegations of sexual misconduct, drug use, and improper gifts, but has stalled after his resignation from Congress last month. Despite the setback, Democrats are continuing to push for the report's release, arguing it is important for transparency, while Republicans contend that the issue is moot since Gaetz is no longer in office. Gaetz, who also faced a Justice Department investigation over allegations involving a 17-year-old girl, has denied any wrongdoing, and the Department of Justice declined to press charges. I do think releasing this is important for transparency. However, I'm not sure it should be their focus right now in this moment. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to highlight the double standard of Republicans refusing to hold their own accountable compared to Democrats. Democrats held Bob Menendez accountable when he faced his controversy, and the Republicans stalling and trying to make this just never see the light of day kind of shows the dichotomy between the two parties right now in terms of accountability. So I definitely want to see it released. There's got to be some absolutely wild shit in that report for them to be fighting this hard for it to not be released for a guy who's not even in Congress anymore. You can't help but wonder if there's some damning stuff for other Republicans in that report as well. And that's the reason they're not releasing this. I have no idea. But Yeah, as for this being the focus, I don't know how much of their energy they're spending on this,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't want this to be kind of their focus, as you said. But if
Yeah.
it's something they can kind of continue to focus on the big issues that really matter while trying to get this released, I'm all for it because I want to see what's
Yeah.
in that report. I'm very
Yeah.
curious.
I also am, and I do think it's important to hold Matt Gaetz accountable. Trust me, like he is horrible and has definitely served as a leading distraction, and a person who focuses on small distractions instead of focusing on big issues. And he's just like he deserves jail time amongst other things. To be held accountable for these inappropriate gifts and sexual misconduct and all of these things. I just worry about it becoming a distraction. He's not one of the nominees anymore, and I don't want his terribleness to distract from other people who could be making decisions on a national stage during this time, because as the article said, this has been going on for 3 years, and he is not in office anymore, so it definitely doesn't need to be a distraction in this moment, although it is important.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Democrats that are keeping their eye on the ball, Michigan Democrats are racing to pass reproductive health legislation during their final weeks of control before Republicans take over the state House in 2025. Supported by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the proposed measures include protecting digital health data, such as information from menstrual tracking apps, to prevent its misuse against individuals seeking abortions. The legislation would require businesses to obtain explicit consent before selling reproductive health data and ban targeted advertising based on location data, a provision criticized by anti abortion advocates. Other initiatives include addressing Black maternal health disparities, expanding birth control access, and requiring insurance coverage for fertility treatments. With a crowded legislative agenda, Democrats face competition to prioritize these measures during the short lame duck session. All necessary stuff I kind of wish they'd been working on earlier and perhaps running more strongly on. But, I say that knowing that full well that Democrats did run on these issues. Perhaps they didn't communicate them effectively enough, or perhaps they just weren't even popular enough to get people out to vote for them. But nonetheless, I'm very glad they're actually trying to do this with the little time they have left before things get worse. I think the kind of preemptive measures taken there in California and in other blue states definitely helpful. I hope it holds against the kind of onslaught that is sure to come from the Trump administration.
Yeah, one of the big issues that does deserve a lot of Democrat attention in this short time that they have left. And our last story for today follows up on a bigger story from this week. A manhunt is underway in New York for the gunman who shot and killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on Wednesday morning outside the Hilton Midtown Hotel in what authorities believe was a targeted attack. Thompson, who was 50 years old, was shot multiple times around 6:45 a.m. while walking to the hotel for a corporate event. The suspect, described as a man wearing a distinctive gray backpack, was seen lying in wait before the shooting and fled on foot before using a bike to escape into Central Park. Investigators have found significant evidence, including shell casings with the words delay, deny, and possibly dispose, which they suspect may be related to insurance industry terminology, and are exploring possible motives connected to insurance claims or previous threats to Thompson. So, manhunt going on in New York this morning and yesterday to try to find the person who did this. But it was a big story that we did not cover on our headline show. So I thought we should cover the follow-up story on that one.
Yeah, I think it's a wild case. I'm really curious what the suspect's motives are. I mean, the shell casings with the words delay, deny, and depose, certainly interesting. Um, I have to imagine there's some kind of personal stake in this, but we won't really know until he's caught, if he's caught. But I hope we get some answers because this this kind of swept that through the headlines as one of the main stories that people are talking about. So hopefully he is found and we can get some kind of answers on why this happened.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll lead to a greater conversation about these, about the healthcare industry. Obviously, an action like this is never justified, but it, you kind of wonder what made somebody so desperate that they felt that this was the action they had to take. And maybe if anything good can come from this, it can be a productive conversation about the healthcare industry and why it makes people so desperate.
Hopefully.
Well, that is all we have for you this week. But fear not, there are more podcasts coming out later today. We have another DSR. Sorry for the delay this week, but we released them on Thursday and today. So stay tuned for that. It's a good one. And we have more shows next week. So please join us again. But until then, enjoy your weekend and bye-bye.